What is up, bros? Josh here. In today's video, we are going over the currently work in progress Tier 10 French cruiser, the Colbert. Now, if you want a quick description of how the Colbert is and how it plays, let's take the Atlanta and the Haragumo, make them both blush, and do it in a better package that is a Tier 10 cruiser. This thing is absolutely ridiculous when you play it. You will see it in the gameplay. However, let's dive into some stats and show you what I am running on this. Also, there are two variables we did try out on stream. We do all this live on twitch.tv/mejosh. Come check us out. Come hang out. We play all the work in progress ships there. But overall, this ship is pretty monstrous. Just want to keep in mind, though, it is work in progress. Your stats are subject to change, and I assume that things will get a tad tweaked before this eventually does come out live. Also, elephant in the room, I have no idea how this will be dispersed, whether it's free XP, coal, or steel. Obviously, there's a lot of high tier ships going on right now, a lot of ships being tested, so this could be a long ways away from even being available, but I just don't know how it will be available. So with its stats right now, you will see the stats that I ran with in the video. I will show you a alternate setup as well for both captain skills and modules. This is what I finalized and ran with for the rest of the video. This is the build you actually see. But hit points, 36,100. This is pretty low. This is a light cruiser. However, when I played this, I noticed that one, I was getting lots of potential damage, but since I'm a small, relatively agile French cruiser, I wasn't getting hit that much, and honestly, I wasn't getting Citadel that much. It could have just been the few games that I played, but I wasn't really taking big hits. However, cruiser versus cruiser, those 203s, big shells definitely did pick on you. You don't have much armor on this ship at all, but it seemed like a lot of the battleship shells were honestly just overpenning, and I didn't really take that much damage. Also, you'll see how much you're moving with this as we play it. Now, the main armament, this is some of the stats that you could see a lot of change. Now, the captain build I'm running, let's go over that really fast. Priority target, adrenaline rush. Now I'm running BFT, so that will drop the reload time down 10%. Inertia fuse, because they are extremely small shells, 127s. Concealment, I ended up picking up Demo Expert, obviously to offset the fire chance a little bit, and then went back and picked up both Preventive Maintenance and Incoming Fire Alert. I had never really used this, but I really liked it on this ship. For the modules, however, though, we ran gunfire control, so this is giving the range. You could also drop it down with main battery. This is something we changed on the other one, and then rolled with concealment, propulsion. Now, honestly, you could run steering gears. I think I might end up running steering gears, but I like this because there was some times where I was stationary. Steering gears might be kind of nice. And then AA, both buffing that up a little bit. Since I am a test ship, I tend to run a little bit more AA, and then obviously main armament. So what does that give us? That gives us, again, 8 times 2. However, you do have these, so there is always one. Kind of reminds you of the Atlanta in a way, that you're going to get 3 in the front and then 3 in the back. So you have these wings, so there's always 2 that won't be able to do anything, but 8 times 2, 127 millimeters with a reload time setup that we have of 2.7 at 18 kilometers. Now, these are pretty lofty shells. You'll see it, but there are so many of them, it doesn't really matter. And then we end up getting up to a 10% fire chance. That's with that buffed Demo Expert. So what we could have also run was the reload consumable, which would actually get it down to 2.4 as we demount that. This would actually get it to 2.4, and then what we'd end up doing is switching out the Demo Expert, so we drop that fire chance down, probably drop Preventive Maintenance and pick up AFT. AFT would get it down to 18.6, but we just ran it with the range module. But again, 2.4, we ran it on a couple games like that, and it's nuts. When you take some damage, we were getting down to like 2-second reload. This thing is an absolute flame-throwing beast, and you will see how laughable the rate of fire is on this ship. However, I did notice that the majority of damage with the ship, because the shells are so small, even with the inertia fuse, you will see a ton of shatters, and I will show you in the post-game screen how many shatters we got. That a lot of the damage comes from fires, so I figured that this kind of setup, both with the range module, a little bit slower on the reload, and picking up that Demo Expert, obviously if we wanted to, I didn't do this, I never really add any other flags. You could add stuff like Victor Lima as well as India X-Ray. These would be fantastic on this ship to buff up that fire chance just a tad more. AA is actually pretty solid on this ship. We're knocking out some planes, and a full AA build would actually be quite viable, of being a kind of a nuisance. Maneuverability, now it is a French ship, however, so maximum speed 33 knots with that boost, as well as turning circle radius 9.2 on the rudder shift. We could drop that down with that steering gears, and detectability 9.8. Now I did actually check out the other work in progress ship, the Smolensk, without it, 11.7. I'm not sure how I feel about it without having the concealment, but this is also what we are running here. You can run Hydro if you want, but obviously test ships, I'm going to run it. CVs tend to focus test ships, engine boost, running premium, and then you also get a heal. So no smoke or radar on this, but you do have that boost, the French boost, so that's 20%, which can give you almost up to 40 knots. Very, very maneuverable. Let's get into some gameplay. I'll show you guys how ridiculous this is and kind of give you my thoughts on what this ship is. So here we are in game with the Colbert, and you are about to see some super daka holding down the mouse. I always kind of make fun of ripple firing players, but if you are going to double click on this mouse, you will destroy your mouse because of how fast the reload is. It's almost comical, and you'll even see in the game chat, that's something I would kind of keep an eye on, about how ridiculous this is. And on top of that, look at how many hits we're going to get throughout this game. However, we got pretty spoiled in this. No DDs to really spot us besides the one. I think it even ends up going on the other side of the map, and the CV I think even hits the other side of the map. So we get kind of spoiled. I don't know, I guess they're technically right there, but I think they spend most of the time on the other side. But anyways, this ship, absolutely nuts. And this is one thing I do actually like about French ships as well, is speed. I always like speed on ships, so I'm a fan of things like this, but you will see how much of an impact this thing can have on a game. And yeah, especially if you run into like a destroyer or something like that, they're going to absolutely disappear. You'll see that on my Smolensk video. The game we had, we just absolutely destroyed some DDs that came through. This one, we didn't quite play against as many DDs with the matchups we got in matchmaking, so it's just a lot of farming battleships, which this thing will do. Also, I found that it was actually pretty easy to bully some cruisers because you're going to be able to pen those with those 127s. Battleships, not so much though. And let it begin. Let it begin. I believe you can get 4 or 5 complete salvos in the air before the first one. So this will be 4. And yeah, so there's the 5th salvo. This is the gameplay. People thought the Atlanta was bad. People thought the Haragumo was bad. And one of the funniest things too is if I ever stop shooting is look how much longer, and just at 15 kilometers too, we have almost a 13 and there it is. What is that? It is the Colbert. It's no big deal. This is fine, right? One of the things you do want to see though is look at the pens versus non-pens. Obviously you'll actually see me go against a Kremlin as well, with the Kremlin having that deck armor. I would say it's almost impossible to really get full pens on them unless you're hitting perfect superstructure. But look at the pens versus non-pens, 17 to 50, 60, and it's just absolute. You can't help but smile because of how goofy this is. But people who think like the Haragumo is bad or the Atlanta is bad, you ain't seen nothing yet. It is the Colbert, and it is going to let you know, and you are going to have to get absolutely wrecked. But look at how much damage we've done already in that first little barrage with almost 27,000, and they're still landing. That's what I always love. They're still landing like 5, 6, 7 seconds later after you stop shooting. But it's the majority of your damage is going to be through fire. So this is why I ran that different setup, a little bit slower on the reload, but that little bit higher fire chance. I think that's just overall a fantastic setup for this ship. The little bit trading, that little bit of reload for the higher fire chance, I think is definitely worth it because the pen to no pen ratio against most battleships, a nice little depth strike there, is fantastic. It's how you're gonna get most of your damage. There was one game where I did, I think, like 200,000 damage and 100, it was like 190 maybe. I think 115 was in fires alone. So the ability to pen, there's so many, since your pen value even with inertia fuse is so low. There's a lot of battleships that are just going to shatter. You will start fires if they're even non-pens, but your ability to actually get pen damage is very, very low. But how do you play this ship? Find a spot where hopefully they can't shoot you because you don't have smoke. Use cover and hold the mouse down. That's literally all you have to do. Now you'll see me do a little bit of open water play, and I actually felt pretty comfortable in this. Obviously, if you've ever played the Henry or any of the French line, and this is why I don't normally take incoming fire alert. I actually found it quite nice on this ship. And yeah, you'll see just I think a string of I don't remember how many hits. You just lose track. And this is what I'm talking about too. I don't tend to hold down my mouse for anything, even the Atlanta, even the Haragumo Kitakaze, but this, I think I double clicked everything for the next one. You're gonna give yourself arthritis if you actually double click everything, because you're gonna be constantly double clicking, but just fires after fire after fire after fire. Again, we could even get this fire chance a little bit higher with flags. That's how kind of ridiculous this is. Luckily, this ship is still work in progress, so what I imagine we will see, probably not something too crazy from this, but I imagine we will see something with a nerfed reload. This is the identity of this ship, right? This is a spammy ship, and I imagine we will get some kind of reload on the nerf, or a nerf reload, because this is a little ridiculous. Getting down to 2.4 seconds with just standard, and that's not even including adrenaline rush. Man, I mean, if you are a battleship, this is the Atlanta on steroids with a much farther range. Like, what is this guy supposed to do? However, I am killing him by 1,000 scratches, 1,000 whatever. But there's, I mean, we'll eventually just burn everyone down in 6 minutes. Though a couple slow battleships. We're seeing a lot of battleships in queue right now, and we're almost up to. Oh well, we're at 6 minutes, almost up to 100,000 damage. 8 fires already. We're at 300 and some, 400 and some, 300 and some target hits. Yeah, this is fine. This is fine. Just fire after fire after fire. Yeah, Kremlin has all that kind of stuff. You're seeing lots of, as you see, it's usually like a 3-to-1 non-pen to pen. That's kind of the values I kind of saw throughout all of the games. But, and this guy's probably super saturated, but he can't have much AA or anything else. He'll definitely be breaking that stuff. But if you can get into a spot where you can just sit there, grab a drink, hold down the mouse, adjust every once in a while, and you're basically golden. You don't really have to do anything. And it's just a lot of that. Now, there were other situations where going against destroyers, if you can get it, you'll just make them disappear. They don't really stand a chance. The rate of fire, the damage against DDs, even though they are 127s, is pretty ridiculous just because of the rate of fire. It's just insane, absolutely insane. But yeah, if you can find a battleship that doesn't really do much, enjoy the spam. So if you like the Atlanta, you like the Flint, you like the Minotaur, you like the Worcester, you like anything like that, this ship is going to kind of be for you, because it is a spammy setup. And again, as shells were still landing, I love it, dude. You can get like 5 salvos in the air without anything really happening. But luckily, this the ship, if needed, can rotate pretty quick. You'll see us rotate to the other side and actually be quite effective against multiple ships. But every time, I mean, anytime there's a spamming ship like this, you can't sit there as a battleship. You're going to back out. You're going to go get dark. You're going to do something like that. So this ship, although the alpha damage is not very high, it has a big impact on the game. And that's something that you don't really get with a lot of ships. You can't just sit there because you'll get burnt down. That's one thing that I saw when playing against other CC super testers, is if a friendly battleship is, you had to tell them you have to move or you're just going to die. There's no way this GK is going to be able to do anything. He will just get tickled to death and eventually burnt down, and there's nothing he can do. He needs to get away. So this is something that I could see people being very deadly with. Obviously not the finalized version, but something that can just cause damage upon damage upon damage. And as you see, this is kind of a normal pen right here. If something's giving you a bit more broadside, nice little shot by our Kremlin. And also, you can even get this out taking AFT. Obviously, it's not going to be very effective. Even stuff at max range, like 18 kilometers, it has to be pretty stationary. Even stuff like this Neptune, where is a Neptune going to be in 17 seconds? Your effective range your effective targets are pretty much going to be battleships. If you can get relatively close against other cruisers, you can do tons of damage. And if your aim is pretty good, you can even do some damage. But your main targets are going to be focusing on battleships. Now, what does that have to mean with your impact of the game? Your impact of the game is you're going to mainly be scary for battleships. Other cruisers, if they start focusing you, and this is a ship too, it's a lightly armored cruiser. If things start to focus you, you will have trouble. A couple battleships start to focus me, and you'll see my health get chunked down. LOL, jokes on them. All it does is give me a faster reload. But if things start to focus you, a couple cruisers start to focus you, Moskva, Zao, something like that, that can really just do a lot of alpha damage and really kind of chunk you down, they can have a big impact on your game and send you back to port pretty quick. I did notice, though, that finding islands, getting on flanks, just kind of really taking advantage of positioning with this ship was just extremely effective. Now, one thing I think some people who will see this now, and then if this eventually does go live in any sense of form, is this ship is not going to be forgiving if you have bad positioning. If you have good positioning, it's going to be God tier. If you have bad positioning, you're going to get absolutely destroyed. This is not a ship that's going to tank very well. This is not a ship that's going to sustain a gunfight close range very well. This is something that you're going to have to work on your aim and kind of farm from range. And things that tend to farm from range tend to not be the highest win rate ships, however, very fun. This could have a big impact, but if the situations are correct. Now, as you see, these guys can't move. They can't keep pushing into sea. So this is something that the mentality of this ship, this could be a very it could mess with the psyche of a team. These guys were pushing towards sea cap. They can't push into it. You can't push into a ship like this. So what are they doing? They're basically getting away from me and rotating around. And quick little peek up there. We've since farmed about 80,000 more damage and almost 800 main target hits. But sad thing is, everything's starting to go away from us. This isn't very effective at range. But we are like, look at that shower. Look at that rainbow. It's absolutely nuts. And another fire, another fire, another fire. So that's why, look at that. Zooming out, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, maybe 7 salvos in the air that are still just landing. It's absolutely ridiculous. People have asked me, like, hey, what do you think about this ship? It's absolutely ridiculous. It is something that it's crazy to see it in game. It's crazy to play it in game. I will say though, as much fun as I had, it did get a little boring. I have to say, it is as crazy as that may sound. It did get a little boring to play. Yes, spamming down, it can be troll fun. We all have our inner trolls in us. But it did get a little, okay, I get it. It's just like the Atlanta for me, the Worcester for me. I can play them every once in a while, but I can't really play them too much. Worcester I can probably play a little bit more, but this one is just so goofy. However they do it, it'll be fun to play every once in a while, but honestly, I think it may get a little old. But, I mean, playing it every once in a while, though, I mean, we all like to play goofy ships. So this could be the perfect one for there, and this is one we're seeing. I do enjoy that it does have a unique play style for this tier, at least. You know, the Haruguma kind of has it, but that's a DD. Cruiser-wise, though, this is relatively unique at this tier. We see other things like the Atlanta and the Flint, stuff like that. But as for tier 10, there's nothing really like this at all. Kind of say maybe the Worcester is in a way, but I think the Worcester is still relatively... it's still kind of unique. You're gonna get a bit closer. This one, if you get close, you're basically gonna die. So staying at range will be the most effective gameplay and kind of farming and playing that French playstyle. I do enjoy the French playstyle. I like that open water play. This one is going to be kind of a mix. You know, Henry, you kind of go open water, a lot of the normal French cruisers. This one, you want to actually use cover. It's kind of a mix of USN light cruiser as well as French cruiser, although you do have the speed and maneuverability. Again, we could get a tad more maneuverable with this. But right here, as you see, this is something that I saw a lot of as well, is all these no pens. You're going to see no pen, no pen, no pen, no pen. That's the downside of these 127s. However, I say that we're getting no pens, but there's a fire, and also we have 200,000 damage without really doing anything in this game. So, but that is definitely one thing. These are 127s. They're very small shells, and they're going to have pretty much no damage on a lot of situations. And really, all right, I see you, incoming fire alert. Not that bad, actually. But we are so close, and that was one thing I was really trying to do on stream, is get into a spot where I can maybe get 1,000 target hits. I've never gotten 1,000 targets before, not even really close, and I think this in the Smolensk as well got us in this situation. So I was really trying to, but everything basically ran away. You can't feed into something that is a fire hose. If you do, you'll just get burnt down. And just look at how much we've pushed away with one ship. We've pushed 2 tier 10 battleships away. They couldn't push in. We're pushing this Neptune away. They can't continue to push. This one ship alone basically pushed 3 ships away, and we don't even know where the TD is. And we even killed the CV while doing it. So, well, and also another thing too, very high potential damage when it comes to this ship. It's agile. It's not that big, and really could have a pretty big impact with that, as well as just soaking up a lot of potential damage. Every time somebody shoots at you, they could potentially not hit something else on your team, so that maybe is an upside as well. Playstyle of this ship, though, relatively passive, holding down the mouse and having just a wonderful time. Now, this Neptune's actually going to kind of mess us up a little bit as we're trying to break our 1,000 hit mark. We couldn't end up quite doing it, though. But it was extremely hard to hit anything but battleships at range. The speed of battleships and the mobility of battleships was something that was easier to hit. Cruisers, though, being much more agile, not quite as easy, although we could get into some spots. Once you kind of get your aim down, especially if you aren't playing anything like this, it will definitely take a while, because it takes a while to get the arc down. But I was trying, if that Neptune wouldn't have got that close to us or started firing at us, I would have 100% pushed in a little bit earlier, because I didn't want to quite throw the game for our team and hopefully make this a good game for a YouTube video. So, and I even thought about still shooting right here, and I was like, should I do it for the 1,000? In the end, I should have. But I don't know. It's so... Even this ship can make the Haragumo and Kitakaze blush. I mean, if you can do something that's so spammy like that and make that kind of and dwarf it in a way, we'll see what ends up happening. Do I think this is going to end up being anywhere near this? I think you'll see pretty similar gameplay, but things we're probably going to see nerfs to are reload as well as range. I could definitely see some range on this getting toned down. You know, again, we have AFT that affects our range, as well as the range module. I could see this having a very low range post if they do nerf it to whatever. I could see this having a pretty dang low range, and that could also affect the gameplay as well. You won't be able to spam as much. But overall, there is the Colbert, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. Basically, holy crap. A lot of fun to play, pretty goofy, kind of ridiculous, and I imagine what we will see the next version of the ship will be a tad different. But anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed that video. I enjoyed playing it, and that's it for me. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Don't like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.